Morning everyone. Just going to do a recap and see what's happening here in our little veggie garden. We've had some good rain overnight and you can see everything's nice and damp. The lettuce has actually taken off now. I think it's been about 3 weeks, 3 weeks we've had this in the ground, and we've had the dogs trample all over it, so it's settled down, it's taken off. We've got our cauliflowers, cabbages, and I think it's parsnips. I can't remember now, to be honest with you, but I've got labels there, and that's so important because if your memory fails you, at least the label will tell you. Have a look at this. Just a quick one on this. Some have taken off better than others. And obviously it's because we didn't have them in plugs. So the seedlings weren't individual seedlings, they were actually growing together. So when we separated them, or I separated them, some of the roots got damaged and they went backwards, and we've had a bit of a caterpillar attack there as well. But they are still strong. If I give them another feed with our Liquid Gold and EcoBoost, they will settle down, they'll take off. Look at these ones here, they've taken off like there's no tomorrow. You can't control those, they're happy. Now, weeds is another issue. I had a lot of emails come through and messages saying, why are you using pea straw? Don't you have peas sprouting up everywhere? Well, you do. That's okay. If you leave some, you can enjoy the beautiful produce that comes out of it, or otherwise, let them grow large enough so you can pull them out. And that's what I've been doing here. Otherwise, this would have been completely covered in peas, plants, pea plants. And you'll see some sprouting up here and there. The little ones, you know, they're not worrying me yet. If they get too big, I pull them out. The capsicums are overwintering. If you've got capsicums in your garden, these are, you know, really insignificant ones. They're going to die off on me because they never really took off in summer. I never looked after them properly. But if you've got some decent sized capsicums in your garden, they're going to be dormant. They're going to be dropping their leaves. You'll find some die back on the tips of the branches. That's okay as long as you don't get too many frosty nights. Let that be. Don't cut them back or do anything to them. Just let them overwinter, as we call it, and then closer to springtime, mid-August, if the weather starts to warm up around that period, cut them back because you'll see some new sprouts coming on. Or if you see any bud burst or swelling or new development coming on the plant, give them a prune back to that green growth and they will take off. Now that's the deal with the capsicums, but over here, this side here was the first part that we planted. I think it would have been about 6 weeks ago. It's gone crazy. They've actually just, you can tell when the roots have settled in and taken off because the plant on top has just burst on. That's Black Grit, EcoBoost and Liquid Gold. That's doing really well. That was the last bed I planted, which is basically after the bed I just shown you, which has got some, what are they? These are the radishes actually. That's where they are here. And parsnips. Yeah, this is radishes. They were parsnips over there. So these are taken off and they're coming well. Now have a look at this. We've got clover and bindi and all that sort of stuff developing here, which is a nuisance. You can pull it out individually, and that's what I've been doing to some extent. I haven't taken it all out, and that's a part that I haven't stepped in because I think I overplanted here. I can't even get in there anymore. But this sort of stuff here, see, you can see, look at that. It's already been broken. So I have reached in. You don't have to take it out completely, just break it away from the roots so that will die down. It shouldn't take off for you any further than that. As opposed to the peas, you can't pull the pea out and leave it in there because that little pea itself, let me find one. Do you remember Franco from Yarra Valley, the trenching? This is his idea. Now tell me, how do I deal with this? You know, we've got a nice little valley going here, a bit of a moat going on, but now the weeds are growing down in here. All right, we've got to work this one out, don't we? Let's see if I can get the roots out. Let me get the roots. Oh, there we are. What have we got in here? Wait. So the pea there, good girl, come on, settle down. That pea there, if you leave that just in the mulch itself, get away. If you leave it just in the mulch itself, it will still grow. It will find its way to grow like that. See, I've broken that off now. That pea there will try and push up again. If you constantly break it away, you'll exhaust it because it won't get any sunlight to photosynthesize to be able to push energy back down to the pea where it needs it to grow because it's a bit of a reaction going on, sun, shade, growing up and down. That will die off eventually. You'll exhaust it and it'll give up. So that's what we're doing with most of them, if not all of them. Come up here. Now this is the part that's frustrated me just before. You can see I've been in the garden already digging over and preparing because we've been at Joseph's house, nearly 100 years old and still gardening. Amazing, isn't it? Now he's given me some of that garlic. There was a red one, a yellow one and a white one, I believe. Red, yellow and white. Come over here. This is where I'm planting it. It's a little bit late to plant well, the shortest day of the year you can plant if you like, just watch yourself here, or in May. So most people would have planted by May. I'm planting him now. I've got some garlic here. That's his garlic. This is the bed I was telling you I was preparing. Now what I found is I bought some soil, some composted soil, enriched. So I've got my pea straw at the bottom to smother the existing weeds that I had, dug out most of them, as much as I could. I put my chicken manure, not sheep manure, chicken manure, black grit, my straw, that's my pea straw, and my composted soil on top. And now this soil I've had for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sitting in the stockpile. And this is about 60, 70 centimetres below the top of the pile. Now, I've done a lot of shoveling over the years, folks. I've done a lot of landscaping for people, and I've bought a lot of soil. If you're establishing new garden beds and raised garden beds, so basically clean and free of any weeds, and you're buying some fresh composted garden mix soil, which is a 3-way, 5-way mix, you know, the suppliers or the garden centres will always want to give you the best quality they can supply and buy. What I'm showing you here is a weed that's germinated. Now, soil, whether you buy it in or dig it out of another garden bed, will always have a percentage of seed in it, be it all a weed, be it all a plant that was from previous season, like a tomato or a cucumber, whatever it is, pumpkin, comes the season for it to grow, it will germinate. Now you can buy the most cleanest soil, thinking you have bought that, and all due respect to the garden suppliers, they don't want to be selling you soil that's contaminated with seed or weed or anything like that. Their aim is to be able to give you the best quality, so you go back and buy more, and you know, that's a cycle of life and business. But what I found here is also the same problem. Have a look. Look at this. This is growing about 70 centimetres below the surface. I don't recognise it. Anybody out there who can tell me what weed this is? Because it certainly ain't a vegetable, that's for sure. I'd like to eradicate it. Now, there's no way I'm going to throw all this soil away. Look at it, it's everywhere. I'm not going to throw all this soil away because of this weed here, because lucky enough, I've got enough weeds of my own in these garden beds, and they're going to keep sprouting up. Have a look at that. I haven't finished digging this one over. This is a part that I still got to prepare. That's what it's going to look like. That's what it looks like at the moment. When I finish, it's going to be like that. And this is where I'm planting the garlic. So if you've got weeds in your garden, stay on top of them. Do not allow them to overgrow too much to the point where they drop their seed, and it just amplifies the problem. And hopefully it doesn't get to the point where it seeds and germinates. Otherwise, you're going to have to use a herbicide to control it or dig it out completely. And I'm digging it out, and then I'm smothering it with a pea straw. But when you do plant your garden and you've got your veggies growing, use quality fertilisers, something that's certified, like our products. They are Liquid Gold and EcoBoost and Black Grit. They all are organically certified, and they do work, and they will give your plants a better chance to fight against these weeds that try to take over in between. As long as you pull out those little weeds or break their little green tips as they grow out of the ground, they'll struggle to be able to develop, and that way your veggies have a better chance to grow and feed the wonderful family. And it doesn't have to be just veggies, it could be flowering plants as well. So from me, Vasily, Maresi.